Hey, Umberto. Man, I heard you say that you've been working with AI for the last at least 10 years. Most people think that AI started out in 2023 when ChatGPT was launched. What were you doing prior to that?
Well, we've been working on AI, like you said, now for a little over 10 years. And there was a lot going on prior to, ChatGPT, right? And a lot of it had to do with things like machine learning, natural language processing, right? Which is sort of a precursor to um, generative AI, conversational AI, and computer vision. If computer vision was actually an area of focus for us for a while, especially I was heavily involved in video. So we did a lot of AI in the area of computer vision. So model optimization for different things, right from sales to marketing, um, then natural language processing, sentiment analysis, and a lot of computer vision as well. So facial recognition, character recognition, different things. So there was quite a bit going on, and but AI really it's been around for decades. It's nothing new, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the democratization, I think, of AI as a tool that everyone has access to
Mm-hmm.
is the big differentiator.
And over these years, you've spoken to more than 100 companies about their AI needs or expectations. But most of them are like distributing LLM licenses to their employees, or they're doing some kind of automation for like peripheral functions within the company. What are most of them missing?
Well, AI is it's evolving very rapidly, right? So it's constant learning. Every week there's something new, new research that is revolutionary coming up, and a new trend, a new topic, a new area of interest. But I think the area that we see most companies, especially now in the era of agentic AI, has to do with the ability, and you and I talked about this before, has been on the ability to replicate processes, right? And to me is so when you have a lot of employees, or even if you have general, as if you're a small company, right? One of the key things is how you level up the standard of delivery, right? That's a key thing. And what we see the most when we talk to companies is that while a lot of people are using, different licenses of, either ChatGPT or OpenAI or Anthropic or Perplexity, they haven't been very successful on primarily centralizing their knowledge and their data. So the two things that we work with most when it comes to companies is to prepare the foundation for AI
Mm-hmm.
and to have scalable, um, efficient AI. You do need to have centralized information, right? And typically that comes in two formats or two flavors, and one of them is data, right? And that could be
Mm-hmm.
structured or unstructured data. And then the other one is really knowledge, right? And knowledge comes in all different shapes and sizes, and it could be video, it could be audio, meeting notes, customer notes, emails, chats, and to us at least, the companies that have been the most successful at implementing AI in terms of applicability have been the companies that have taken the knowledge and the data and were able to make them into very efficient source of truth and references. So, one of the biggest challenges is how you aggregate and centralize all of the data that you have across different systems, right? And that's a project and a problem that we've been working on now for quite a while. And the other one is how you centralize completely unstructured knowledge and make sense out of that. And you you treat your agents, right? You provide a home to your agents. So those are, I think, very interesting problems. So our solution for that is, developing a company brain where or a home for agents where you centralize context and data into one place, and that becomes the source of truth for agents that can then elevate the standard of delivery for your company.
I want to get deeper into that, but first, I want to learn a little bit about the different levels of AI service providers. You can go from very simple automation agency, or you can go up to a level that's much more sophisticated that can help models perform the way you need, or can do private AI. What are those levels, and where does your company stand?
So I think that today, objectively speaking, we have outstanding models out there that deliver phenomenal value, right? And the key thing is, how do you extract value repeatedly from those models, right? So how do I can build that into a process that it's of high quality and great standards, and it's repetitive? And so that's why there's so much focus now in terms of agentic AI. So to answer your questions, number one, especially as we started, the models were beginning to become, it was very early on. So there were so many, there still are many different models. But one of the key things is, to answer your questions, I think you got to look at it from sort of two different angles first. The one is, can you use cloud models, right? Can you leverage and can you benefit from using, frontier models that are hosted on the cloud? That's the one question. Because if you can, you have one avenue. If you cannot, then you have plenty of options, but you have to follow and go down a different path, right?
Who would not be able to use cloud-based models?
So any organization that has, more strict compliance guidelines in terms of data security, and that could be anything from, and I'm not saying this applies to everyone in the industry, but some health, maybe some legal, defense contractors, yes. Right? Those are some of the organizations that we have either engaged with or working with to be able to build, sort of state-of-the-art solutions with that. So if you are let's say a defense contractor or a government, right? There's probably a good chance that you don't want to, at least to the extent that we've heard, there are many reasons as to why some of these organizations do not want their data being passed on back and forth in the cloud, right? There's a lot of value into keeping the information into in the computer, which is the reason why we spend a lot of time working on, with private AI, right? And the ability to be able to have all the inferences in not only your premises, but without any physical exposure. So that's where I probably draw the line is, can you have data, fluctuate or be transferred from your location to any data center, or for whatever reason do you have the need for data never to leave, right? That's the one thing. And because if you data can leave your premise, then you start having more options. So the question is, for the ones that cannot or that do not want data to leave premises, that's a lot of their area of focus. If data can leave the premise, right, then you're looking at, how now we benefit from a lot of these frontier models, or we do, model fine tuning, optimization to be able to deliver the best result. So it really starts on, where do you sit in terms of your capabilities or permissibility to be able to use models, right?
And you mentioned once that there are different levels of, AI service providers. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's a very broad and a developing topic. So, AI, and especially the applicability of AI, comes in different flavors. So automation today is heavily powered by AI, right? Which is something that, at least when I started my career, 20 years ago, automation was something that was, at least to get it set up, it required code and a lot of data treatment and, and system automations. You had to replicate the user, the keyboard, the mouse, and the screen. And then to be able to do some of these things where it was more effort intensive, right? Whereas today you have agencies that work on automating simple processes, right? So, hey, take this email and parse it and do this with that. You have those simple automations, right? Then, you go up a level and you go into, developing with AI, and you can do a lot today with the tools out there, right? So, and you go into things like agentic AI, right? And how do you apply that? How you ensure governance? How you ensure security, traceability, right? Telemetry, and to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do, security, governance, guardrails. And then you go to another level, and you actually have to do model routing and model fine tuning, and you have to do more advanced evals for the proper applicability of that as well. And you go into you could be even more advanced and doing really model research and looking at different types of model architectures, right, beyond transformers, right, and so energy models or physics inspired models and some of these other models for specific applications as well.